Welcome to Semco. It mightn't look like it, but this is one of the world's most radical workplaces. And the difference begins at reception. In fact, Semco has two receptionists. Nothing unusual about that, except that the company itself doesn't know which one will be there to greet you.
But we are not sure which one will be there in the morning or in the afternoon, because they talk to each other and they set their own schedule.
Almost every one of Semco's 3,000 employees sets their own schedule.
That man is the CEO of this business unit.
It seems the CEO doesn't have an office and is leaving early. He's not the only one.
There's no reason why they shouldn't.
IT worker João Neto gives himself every Monday off. He didn't ask for permission.
Basically, three reasons
very hard
why
for his supervisor to check up on him.
We can do it.
Like these employees, he keeps changing workstations.
The idea is that you shouldn't use the same position. Should not use 2 days in a row.
It's a rule designed to make employees hard to track.
We can even work here, because if you have one area where you have all the fixed desks, the supervisor may be there and see 8 o'clock who's not here.
Right.
But he's not supposed to do that, right? So the company is providing means to avoid that.
We don't want to know what time people came, how many hours they worked. We want to negotiate and contract with them for much more important things that have to do with our survival, which is, what are they going to do this month? And what do we get from them out of this salary or this value that we're paying? And what do they get out of us in terms of gratification for their life? The rest to us is secondary.
The Semco philosophy is that a lot of what managers do shouldn't be done.
Oh, absolutely. I would say that maybe 30% of people's time is spent trying to understand why people make more than they do, how come people came late, why weren't you at the meeting, can you do this by Wednesday at 6 o'clock, and it's all very silly, and there's an enormous waste, and of course at a certain point in time people just are dumbed down and they say, you know, this is just too much work, what do you want me to do? I'll just do my 9 to 5 thing, I'll learn how to survive in this environment.
That's not what happens here. It seems that knocking off early isn't a problem if the work's been done. Normally this machine shop turns out parts for merchant ships, but the workers here supervise themselves. They'd gone home for the afternoon when we turned up.
Well, they are grown up. They are producing what is required.
So when you open up that door, you don't necessarily know whether the factory is going to be working or not.
Not necessarily.
Then again, some of the workers might be back on Sunday if they need to be. These look like hammocks.
Yes, they are.
They've installed hammocks so they can rest and think in comfort. Do you see people resting in these in the middle of the day?
Nothing wrong.
Nossa, eu não conheço uma expressão para isso.
Here's another radical idea. Each business unit within Semco gets to pick its own furniture. This workplace has deliberately chosen cheap chairs.
Why? Because they want to spend the money in somewhere else.
Semco's workers are frugal when it comes to spending their business unit's money. They each get a share of its profits. And then there's this, a cartoon guide to reading the company's accounts, produced by the union and the company. Staff have access to all the company's financial data, and Semco wants to make sure that its workers understand what they're reading. Ricardo Semler believes that unions still have a role to play in his company, though, as in many places, they're in decline.
Unions have less of a role because we deal more openly with all of these issues anyway. But we ourselves are looking for ways to substitute the decline of unions for internal processes where people elect, every 10 people elect somebody who is a keeper of the cultural values and who has job stability, people who can look at every firing and hiring and be able to take an independent position about it in the name of the employees.
With workers virtually running the business, you could be forgiven for thinking that this cutting-edge capitalism has a distinctly socialist tinge.
And if you say, you know, is this Trotskyist or Marxist, is this new socialism, is this European socialism? I don't think so, because the basic issues of the free market are there, which is, tell us how much time you want to work, tell us how much you need to make, tell us what you need in exchange, how you gratify yourself by doing something like this. And this does away with the political ideology issues of what ism does this fall under, because it's just respecting anthropological issues instead of political ideas.
Every 6 months, every Semco worker is invited to select his or her salary. He or she is given information about what workers in similar jobs are getting elsewhere.
Average, minimum, maximum, the sizes of the companies.
And imagine your boss telling you you should be asking for more.
We have cases where they say, no, think again. We don't think this is fair.
We want to pay you more.
Yeah, we want to pay you more.
But don't ask for too much. You might be fired by your colleagues. The entire unit, not just the bosses, decides who to hire and fire. And with workers sharing profits, no one wants to work with a shirker.
Let us suppose you ask me why you're not working. If you're not doing your job, this is going to affect our profit sharing. So you're taking money out of my pocket if you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
You get the feeling that it's in some ways hard to work at this most successful of Brazilian conglomerates. There's freedom, but with it plenty of pressure to perform.
There is peer pressure for bad behavior. If you're here just to collect things for yourself, to live on some other from other people's efforts, you're not wanted here.
Para a nossa passejata de 15 minutos.
It's a philosophy that's worked well for Ricardo Semler. These days he's a public speaker and author. He organised this seminar to bring together 50 of Brazil's best minds to discuss the future of the nation. His company turns over $160 million a year, up from $4 million when he took over what was a struggling ship part supplier 25 years ago. He wasn't in the day we visited. He hardly ever is.
He doesn't like the day-to-day operations. He doesn't like to be checking purchase orders or signing checks, things. He's bothered. He gets bothered with this small thing.